Assalamualaikum and a very good day everyone. So welcome to lecture number 8. So today we are going to see one paper by Big New Zwolinski et al. This paper is basically reviewing the methods for assessing geodiversity. So when we're talking about the method here, okay, we are focusing on both qualitative, quantitative, and the combination of qualitative and quantitative method. So this paper is actually reviewing all the previous study which focusing on the three types of methods focusing on geodiversity assessments. Okay. All right. So everyone already knows what is geodiversity is about, what is the definition of geodiversity. So I'm not going to revise what is the geodiversity is all about. Okay. So geodiversity concept is basically proposed in the 1990s, and it has become the main concept in assessing the potential for geotourism for each geosite that have been established all around the world. Okay, let's proceed to the method directly. Okay, when we are focusing on the geodiversity assessment, we are actually identifying the valuation and assignment of the advantages of abiotic components of natural environment, as well as the appraisal of the relationship determining their dynamics and even the satisfaction of human needs. Okay, when we talk about geodiversity assessment here, it focuses on classification. So when we have a specific classification on geodiversity assessment, we have a certain group of entities or phenomena that can be treated as individual unit based on their specific patterns and behaviors. So all this group or certain group of entities become our set of classification for this assessment purpose. Okay, so what are the criteria that we usually use for a geodiversity assessment? Okay, usually we consider 4 criteria used for this assessment. The first criteria we use is the subject itself for the assessment. What are the subject we are going to focus? Either the abiotic, nature beauty or anything. What are the scope of the assessment? And the third one is what are the spatial range of the assessment? And the fourth one is the assessment technique. So that's are the criteria that we are need to focus for geodiversity assessment. Okay. So in order to meet up the 4 type of criteria, we need to decide first either all these criteria we want to use qualitative method only, quantitative method only, or a mix of quantitative methods. Okay, it means that let's say for criteria B, in order to assess the subject of the assessment, we need to try to figure out first what are the approach to assess the subject matter. Either we want to use qualitative method, quantitative method, or the mix of qualitative and quantitative method. Okay, same goes to the criteria number 2, criteria number 3, and criteria number 4. Okay, so a significant assessment attribute is the presentation from the result which can be displayed both in descriptive or graphical ways. So we are going to see the table 2.1 later. Okay, now after we have the criteria, we need to focus on the geodiversity mapping. So when we talk about geodiversity mapping, we must realize that the final outcome must be in the form of map. Okay, when we after conducting the geodiversity mapping, the end product must be the geodiversity map. Okay. So geodiversity map can be produced particularly in the case of qualitative and quantitative method. Okay, so bear in mind here, when you would like to have geodiversity map, so anyhow you need to use qualitative and quantitative method, both. Okay, because in order to produce geodiversity map, you cannot rely on qualitative data only or quantitative data only. But in order to produce a good and reliable geodiversity map, you must use qualitative and quantitative method or approaches. Okay, bear in mind also when you are preparing a geodiversity map, it is important to first establish its general purpose. So you must know what is the purpose of the map. Okay, is the map want to convey what messages, what data. Okay, the map is reliable to which party. Okay, either can be used for government, for stakeholders. Okay, that is you must identify first. What is the general purpose of your geodiversity map? Second one is you need to consider general and detailed aspect of specific map features. Okay, what are the features that you need to consider to be put in your geodiversity map? Either you want several aspects related to geomorphology, for example, several aspects that related to the features such as rivers, streams, hills, and so features meaning on. Okay. The third one is include the user-friendly instruction addressed to the map users. The fourth one is to present solution for a better readability of the map, such as a map should at least include a title defining the type of that geodiversity. Okay, this is a very common when you have any type of map. The basic things that you need to put in your map is the title itself. Okay, so a map must have title. Okay, for example, you have a base map of your study area, so you put the title as base map of study area, kampung sekian sekian sekian. And for example, you have a geological map of your study area, then you can put a title as the geological map of kampung Kubang Pasu, for example. Same goes to when you have your geodiversity map, so you need to put an appropriate title to represent your map. Okay. So the second one, you must have an insight of geolocation of the area, the coordinate, okay, latitude and longitude. And okay, then another one also the coordinate of the main map and the numerical and the linear scale and a comprehensive legend. So this is a basic things that you need to put into consideration first before constructing your geodiversity map. Okay, so previously we are talking about the table 2, which displaying the descriptive graphical ways of the assessment attribute for geodiversity. Okay, let's go further on the what is we have in the table 2.1. Okay, so let's see here. This is a set criteria that you need to consider in making decision of the evaluation of the geodiversity. You have the attribute here, and then you have the first order criteria and the second order criterion. So let's focus on what are the attribute that you must have. Okay, the first attribute that you need to have in your geodiversity map is the purpose of the assessment. Second one is the what are the subject of the assessment, the scope of the assessment, the spatial range of the assessment, time scale of the assessment, assessment criteria, assessment technique, presentation of assessment. Okay, so let's see for the assessment technique. This is the part that we are focusing on. Either we need to have which part to have a qualitative assessment, which one have the quantitative assessment and quantitative plus qualitative assessment. Okay, let's see first for the qualitative assessment. Okay, now we are focusing on the method or assessment technique. So in order to have a qualitative assessment, we focusing on the intuitive aspect, the effective aspect, okay, getting from the questionnaire, for example, and also you can get a questionnaire from or opinion from experts. Okay, from the expert you can ask them verbally or can get from their interview indirectly from the virtual or verbal. Okay, and you have also quantitative assessment in terms of you are collecting several data, so you get continuous data evaluation after that, and also you can have the discrete data evaluation, and then finally you can have a numerical evaluation. So in order to have a quantitative assessment here, you need to consider what are the data you need to collect. So you need to list down the data collection, how you collect your data, how you assess the data, and how you evaluate your data. Okay, and finally, you have the third part, which is the combination of quantitative and qualitative assessment, where you need to produce a map algebra, for example, and you have a multi-criterion evaluation. For example, you can use SAM analysis that have been previously explained before by especially from the Boolean analysis. We have a type of the quantitative plus qualitative assessment called Boolean analysis. You have WLC, stand for weighted linear combination. We can use also OWA technique, which stand for ordered weighted arranging, or you have the AHP technique, which is stand for analytic hierarchy process. Okay, if you want to see further what is the AHP, WLC, OWA, and Boolean analysis, you can refer to Cosworth. What is the name here? Cosworth Whiskey 1992 paper. Okay, so basically, if you want to look further in detail, what are the method? Okay.